I can play, but what are you going to play? Do you have mridanga? Otherwise, then you play kartals, because you're a lead singer. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Oh, good.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jashodhanandana Brajajanna Ranjana Jashodhanandana Brajajanna Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jashodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jashodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jashodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Okay, 1 minute.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Prabhupada ki jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Parabrajacharya Astutara Satasi Srimad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Brinda ki jai. Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem Shri Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasa Adi Gaur Bhakta Brinda ki jai. Sri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Sham Kunda Radha Kund Gira Govardhan ki jai. Sri Mayapur Dham ki jai. Sri Radha Madhava ki jai. Sri Panchatattva ki jai. Sri Nrsingadev Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sankirtan Yogya ki jai. Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada. Namam Vishwanaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutle, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namne. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nivasesha Srinavadi Paschatyate Shatarane. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So now you know why I asked him to sing. Okay, Hare Krishna. So, just before we begin, I have a favor to ask of everyone here to do something a little different today than in past days. If you are aware that your eyes are closing, or if the Prabhu next to you has his eyes closing, my favor, my begging you, stand up and just around the outer walls. Srila Prabhupada told us this like more than 50 years ago in New Dwarka, that when you're tired chanting, just stand up. Shake away that sleepiness by standing up. A simple instruction from Prabhupada. And it makes the class more involved or attentive. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So, Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Canto 3, chapter 21, titled Conversation Between Manu and Kardama. And today's text is 22. I'll try my best. You have to tolerate it. ṛṣir uvāca avyalīkaṁ praṇuto bja-nābhas avyalīkaṁ praṇuto bja-nābhas tam ābabhāṣe vacasāmṛtena tam ābabhāṣe vacasāmṛtena suparṇa-pakṣopari rocamānaḥ prema-smitodvīkṣaṇa-vibhramad-bhrūḥ. Anyone take over chanting the verse, please? Okay. Not needed. Thank you. Mataji's, try. You have to say it louder, please, Mata. Thank you very much, all of you. So now, word for word meanings. Rishi uvāca. The great sage Maitreya said, Iti Thus, avyalīkaṁ, sincerely, praṇuto, having been praised, abja-nābhas, Lord Viṣṇu, tam to Kardama Muni, ābabhāṣe, replied, vacasā, with words, amṛtena, as sweet as nectar, suparṇa, of Garuḍa, pakṣa, the shoulders, upari, upon, rocamānaḥ, shining, prema, of affection, smita, with a smile, udvīkṣaṇa, looking, vibhramat, gracefully moving, bhrūḥ, eyebrows. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Maitreya resumed, sincerely extolled in these words, Lord Viṣṇu, shining very beautifully on the shoulders of Garuḍa, replied with words as sweet as nectar. His eyebrows moved gracefully as he looked at the sage with a smile full of affection. Okay, so this is God realization, a little beyond us, but we can all repeat this and maybe think of the deity. You see the deity here, Kardama seeing God himself. There's no difference. So, Maitreya resumed, sincerely extolled in these words, Lord Viṣṇu, shining very beautifully on the shoulders of Garuḍa, replied with words as sweet as nectar. His eyebrows moved gracefully as he looked at the sage with a smile full of affection. Purport. The word vacasāmṛtena is significant. Whenever the Lord speaks, He speaks from the transcendental world. He does not speak from the material world. Since He is transcendental, His speech is also transcendental, as is His activity. Everything in relation to Him is transcendental. The word amṛtena refers to one who does not meet with death. The words and activities of the Lord are deathless. I just want to explain. Death means something ends. So in that context, the words and activities of the Lord are deathless. Never ends. Therefore, they are not manufactured of this material world and are completely different. The sound of the spiritual world is nectarian and eternal. It's hard to imagine, but in the spiritual world, the entire atmosphere is filled with transcendental musical sounds of the Lord, names, glories, pastimes, abode, devotees. It's just like constantly in the air. And that's what everyone hears eternally. So that's what we just read. The sound of the spiritual world is nectarian and eternal, whereas the sounds of the material world is hackneyed and subject to end. The sound of the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. What does that sound do? It everlastingly increases the enthusiasm of the chanter. So you may ask yourself, have I ever experienced, every time I chant, my enthusiasm goes up another notch, and then another notch with every mantra, with every word? Maybe not yet, but that is coming. Guaranteed, because Prabhupada wrote it. It is coming. So I'll just read that again. The sounds of the holy name everlastingly increases the enthusiasm of the chanter. If one repeats monotonous material words, he'll feel exhausted. But if he chants Hare Krishna 24 hours a day, he will never feel exhausted. Rather, he will feel encouraged to continue chanting more and more. By the way, 24 hours a day means the pure devotees, the eternal associates of Krishna, while they're resting in their consciousness, the holy names are still being chanted. 24 hours a day they are being chanted, even when they're sleeping. And they get very excited during their sleeping. And their enthusiasm increases, not just when you're awake, but even when you're asleep, because the holy name is constantly being vibrated. It's very amazing descriptions of what the plane of spiritual life is. When the Lord replied to the sage Kardama, the word vacasāmṛtena is specifically mentioned, since he spoke from the transcendental world. He replied in transcendental words, and when he spoke, his eyebrows moved with great affection. So, when we think of love and affection, we may not automatically think our eyebrows are beaming love. But in the transcendental body of the Supreme Lord, his eyebrows are beaming out effulgent love. It's quite amazing. Hare Krishna. He replied in transcendental words, and when he spoke, his eyebrows moved with great affection. When a devotee praises the glories of the Lord is very satisfied. And he bestows his transcendental benedictions upon the devotee without reservation, because he is always causelessly merciful toward his devotee. That's the end of this purport. So when the devotee praises the Lord, glorifies the Lord is very satisfied, and he bestows transcendental benedictions upon that devotee without reservation. On this plane, the devotee is never asking anything for himself. But the Lord is so pleased with his singing prayers and glorifying him and knowing everything in the devotee's heart everything in the devotee's mind, the Lord just bestows benedictions causelessly. You didn't ask for it, that makes it causeless. Unconditional, causeless. That's the nature of Krishna's love for his devotees. So, from this text, I think of three different categories to talk about. So the first one is just to review what are these prayers that Kardama Muni uttered that pleased Krishna so much that he just appeared before him on Garuḍa. That's completely mystical, beyond mystical. It's completely spiritual, but he had the eyes to see Krishna on Garuḍa. So what were those prayers? We'll just read a few of them to recap. So that's the first subject. Going back to text 12, I'll just read the English. So Kardama Muni realizes the Supreme Personality of Godhead in person because he's been in a state of samadhi for more than 10,000 years. Uninterrupted. Samadhi means there is absolutely no break, no interruption, continuous, constant. So he's meditating for 10,000 years, day and night. That was his samadhi. Oh, you want me to speak more into this? Okay. So, thus, at the end of that, the Lord appeared. He fell down and then started new prayers. The great sage Kardama said, "O Supreme Worshipful Lord, my power of sight is now fulfilled, having attained the greatest perfection of the sight of you, who are the reservoir of all existences. Through many successive births of deep meditation, advanced yogis aspire to see your transcendental form. Your lotus feet are the true vessel to take one across the ocean of mundane nescience. Only persons deprived of their intelligence by the spell of the deluding energy will worship those feet with a view to attain trivial and momentary pleasures of the senses, which even persons rotting in hell can attain. However, my Lord, you are so kind that you bestow mercy even upon them." No, I know devotees who, in moments of despair or whatever their condition may be, they pray for material happiness. They pray for a wife or a husband. They pray to have some Lakshmi or whatever they pray for, something material. They're going to God and asking him for something material. But even then, Krishna will bless them. Not in the same way, but they still get a blessing. So, O Lord, you are the master and leader of all living entities. Under your direction, all conditioned souls, as if bound by rope, are constantly engaged in trying to satisfy their desires. Following them, O embodiment of religion, I also bear oblations for you who are eternal time. However, persons who have given up stereotyped worldly affairs and the beastly followers of those affairs. I just pause here to say, I'm astonished, coming from America, how many devotees comment on the mundane political parties and isms going on in America, and the mundane impure leaders, and devotees just keep reading about them and commenting on them. And here Kardama said, persons who gave that up and the beastly followers of such affairs and who have taken shelter of the umbrella of your lotus feet by drinking the intoxicating nectar of your qualities and activities. I assure you, nothing about mundane politics is intoxicating nectar. That is a specific spiritual ecstasy, not possible in anything, discussing about anything mundane. My dear Lord, you alone create the universes, O personality of Godhead. Desiring to create these universes, you create them, you maintain them, and you again wind them up by your own energies, which are under the control of your second energy called Yogamaya. Just as a spider creates a cobweb by its own energy and again winds it up. My dear Lord, although it's not your desire, you manifest this creation of gross and subtle material elements just for our sensual satisfaction. Let your let your causeless mercy be upon us, for you appeared before us in your eternal form, adorned with a splendid wreath of tulsi leaves. And then the verse just before today's, I continuously offer my respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet, of which it is worthy to take shelter, because you shower all benedictions on the insignificant, to give all living entities detachment from fluid activity. By realizing you have expanded these material worlds by your own energy. And in today's verse, it said that the Lord, being extolled by these prayers, was so pleased. And he showed himself and bestowed benedictions and love even through his dancing eyebrows. So those were the prayers of Kardama. So this chapter is about prayers. So, excuse me. I want to ask some questions of the devotees in this assembly, if that's okay. Like an interactive portion of the class. So my first question, and maybe 3 or 4 devotees could raise their hand on this side, and 2 or 3 on this side. My first question is... Would you like some ginger? Not yet, but thank you. When you're chanting Hare Krishna, this is my first question. What are you thinking of? Somebody thinks of something, or you may have been told, just don't think of anything and just concentrate on hearing. Whatever it is, please raise your hand to tell me what you think of while you're chanting Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu. We all want to hear what we all think about.
Well, I'm thinking Krishna's here in his name. So I'm just thinking, this is Krishna. That's why not that I have the realization, but I'm thinking, this is Krishna. I need to be attentive and hear.
Okay, so your thinking is each name is non-different from Krishna. Very good. Someone else tell me what you think of when you chant. There's no way you don't think of something. Yes, Prabhu.
Unfortunately, my mind just goes anywhere and everywhere. So one of the prayers I ask is that I could be more focused and chant more attentively, but my mind's pretty random.
So when you're chanting and you want to be more focused, are you thinking as a prayer, God, please let me be more focused, something like that?
Yeah, sometimes I'm doing that when my mind hasn't gone off the
Sometimes.
tangent.
Okay, very good. Who else can tell me what you think of when you chant? Hare Krishna. Yes, and then yes, two more.
Throughout the day, my mind is not very focused, but when I chant, it becomes very focused. So I start preparing the list what I have to do today.
Okay, so you're chanting and thinking of your activity list. Okay, and Prabhu.
To be honest, my mind very often flows to think about prasadam, but then I'm also praying that and being very thankful for Krishna. Thank you for letting such a distracted being able to have been given this simple process. Please let me focus more on your holy name.
Okay, thank you. Now on this side, is there a microphone? Thank you. Because otherwise we can't hear what they think of. Okay.
Hare Krishna. I communicate with the holy name like it's a person, right? I mean, just this personified God. So I have kind of, I share something that I feel, sometimes repentance, like something that I'm doing wrong. And like I chant with this feeling of repentance.
So as you're chanting, in your mind, the holy name is right there, non-different. He's in person, right
Yes.
there in person. And you're saying you're sorry for something you may have done. You're repentant.
Just sometimes it's just emotional, like.
Okay, good. Men, don't be afraid to be emotional when you're chanting. It's not just up to women to be emotional. Okay, next.
I try to offer all my thoughts and what I'm going through to Krishna as
Wait,
prayers.
speak again. You try to... what?
I try to offer all my thoughts and whatever I'm going through to Krishna as prayers.
Huh. But whatever you're going through, it could also be what you're materially going through?
Yes.
How do you offer that?
Please help me realize what benefit I can have from this or how this can bring me closer to you.
Okay. Any other Mataji? Okay, one more. Sorry.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So I'll start with concentrating on hearing the holy name and thinking about the lotus feet. Then my mind starts floating here and there. Again, I'll try to bring it back.
Okay.
And I'll pray to Krishna to help me to do my chanting better.
Okay. That Mataji back there, you have to run and give her the microphone. Yeah. Mataji, please stand up so they know who you are to give it to. Oh, you don't have to stand. Okay, good.
Hare Krishna.
They got it to you.
When I chant, especially if I'm not focused, I would put a tune. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. In that way, then I can concentrate that I'm calling and begging for the name of the Lord, that I can focus. I put a tune so that I can consistently hear the name.
So you're begging to hear and associate with Krishna that way. Okay, very good. So we all had different explanations of what we think of while we're chanting. Okay, so now here's my next question. I have about 3 or 4 questions. The next question is, let's say japa, very attentive japa, is minimum 1.5 hours to 2 hours, right? So, is there anyone who can tell, is anyone maintaining some thought or prayer for the entire 2 hours? The same thoughts or prayers? Anyone? So far, oh wait, Prabhu, yes. We'd love to hear if, no, this right here, Prabhu, right, no, right here, yes.
I cannot say I'm able, it's an aspiration. I haven't reached that level to maintain that thought, but Sachinandan Swami, he recommends to have like an intention. And for me it was, please Radha, please Krishna, let me love you, or give me the strength to serve you.
And you try to keep thinking of that for the whole 2 hours?
At least remind myself,
Very nice.
please let me serve you.
Very nice.
Of course, the mind wanders, so I'm not there yet.
Anyone else able to maintain a certain theme of thought for the whole 2 hours? Anyone? Yes, Prabhu.
When I chant, my mind thinks about millions of things, one after the other. But
Wait, when you're chanting, you're thinking of millions of things?
Yes,
Wow.
hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands.
And then, but the way I try to control my mind is I make sure at every step I pronounce and hear each syllable, Hare Krishna. I make sure I don't miss a Hare or a Krishna or a Ram. So I always focus on chanting the complete mantra. It always brings me back to the mantra.
Okay, thank you. Anyone in this side of the room, all the way back there, Mataji, you think of the whole time, I would love to hear what you think of or pray for. Continuously for 2 hours.
Well, I put Srila Prabhupada in one of my ears, and I follow him words by words. So the speed he goes, and I chant that way, just thinking about one ear is my Prabhupada, and the other one is me. Listen to myself.
You're saying you listen to a tape of Prabhupada chanting japa?
Yeah, my.
Very
and
interesting.
I follow exactly what he said the whole way. So I'm thinking of Prabhupada and then hear myself.
Very nice.
So
That
help
does
me to
help
control.
keep you thinking about
Very
it for
good,
the whole
very
2
good.
hours.
And I
yes.
recommend that. It's so nicely. In YouTube, you can find any kind of speed of Prabhupada chanting, and you take one that is easy for you to follow, and you just put in your ears on one side, and you follow Prabhupada all the way. It's very, very wonderful to do that way. Super, I recommend very highly.
Thank you. Anyone else think of something constantly? One more, Mataji, here.
Hare Krishna. So again, this is more of an aspiration, and I try to do that, but I rarely succeed, or I never succeed, but yeah, I try. And I try to, for my chanting, always pick like one image that I'm thinking about, which is usually something connected to Krishna and Vrindavan. For example, two of my favorites are, this is like several, like it's like quotes, and one of them is like that Krishna, when he plays his flute, there is nectar flowing from his lips, and this nectar is overflowing the flute, and then I try to think of what the flute feels when it's like filled up with this nectar. And then the other thing is how the ground, the dust feels when Krishna imprints his lotus feet in it.
All right, so you're trying to think of Krishna Leela in Vrindavan.
Yes.
Okay. It's very advanced if you can think about that constantly. Excuse me. So, in the mid-1960s, anyone whose eyes are closed, you have to stand up, even if you're sitting in a chair. That's comfortable. So, in the mid-1960s, Srila Prabhupada actually explained what is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And he said repeatedly in different places, in New York, in Seattle, wherever he was, my dear Lord Krishna, my dear energy of Krishna, my dear Lord Ram, please engage me in your service. So from the very beginning, Prabhupada was teaching us that chanting of the Maha Mantra is actually a prayer. Yes, it's non-different, absolute non-different from God himself. And so if you concentrate just on hearing, you're associating with God. But beyond that, Prabhupada said, when we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, we are praying to each personality, to Hare, to Krishna and Ram, please engage me in your service. Very pure prayer. That's what Prabhupada taught, that we should always be praying while we're chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. So I used to think about this. Okay, please engage me in your service. So I can't understand on the spiritual plane of Krishna Loka, Loka Vrindavan, how I in this body in my neophyte stage could directly serve Krishna. But Krishna sent Prabhupada as his representative, as his ambassador, to teach us how we can serve Krishna. So I started thinking, well, my dear Lord Krishna, please engage me in your service. So I started thinking, my dear Lord, what does Prabhupada want me to do? Not what I want to do. It's very easy for me to think of, well, I have this tendency, so I'd like to do this for you. But what does Prabhupada want me to do for him? Or another way of thinking about it is, dear Prabhupada, what of anything I could possibly do would please you the most? Now imagine if you're chanting for 2 hours and you're just thinking, please engage me in the way that pleases you the most. That would be quite intense. Non-stop, not thinking of anything else. Your mind wanders, you bring it right back to that. And then I started thinking, well, wait a minute. I have my ego, which makes choices. I have my intelligence. I have a mind. I have senses. I have words. I have arms and legs and a body. What if I started thinking while I'm chanting, dear Krishna and dear Prabhupada, this is your property. I am your property. I belong to you. So I want you to use my intelligence, my mind, my words, not for what I want, but for what you want, because it's your property. Let it be used in what pleases you the most. Now, we all have different realizations about this. My very early realization was that Prabhupada's books are literary incarnations of God. Every morning when they announce the book scores, some devotees are really focused. Not everyone. I try my best, because Prabhupada once told me, these book scores, that is the only solace in my life. So for years I've been trying to think, why? How is that giving Prabhupada solace? And what I've come to understand is that the appearance of each book that goes out is Krishna going out. It's like Janmashtami times, like today, 9,000 books. It's like 9,000 Janmashtamis. Each book is Krishna. And somebody's walking away holding God in his hand. And that's the only solace for Prabhupada when he thinks about that. That's why hearing and focusing on these book scores is so ecstatic. It may not seem that way. It may seem you're forcing yourself to hear about it and clap. But if you try to really understand that the book and Krishna are non-different, and the purports, Prabhupada said, are my emotional ecstasies. Prabhupada's emotional ecstasies are going into someone's lap, someone's home, when they take the book. If you start thinking about book distribution in that way, just then, when you start hearing the scores, I promise you'll start feeling really enthused and ecstatic and joyful. And it's transcendental emotion. It's not just mundane sales figures, mundane scores. So, when we first started book distribution, really the big book distribution really began when the Krishna book came out. Before that, Back to God, it was the only thing we distributed. We'd go on Harinam 8 hours a day, and wherever the kirtan would stop at some public square, a few devotees would go out and try to give people magazines, and they wouldn't take it. But it was the 60s. So we gave them a pack of incense, which they all took, and then the magazine with it. They would give a quarter or $1 even. And that was book distribution in the 60s. And that was book distribution in the beginning of the 70s. But then Krishna book came out sometime later in 1970. That was so revolutionary. You have a book with 70 full color plates. Amazing art. The art sells the book. Everyone realized that. All you had to do is go up to someone, even if they didn't want to stop, and you have the book open to a picture, and they have to look because it's so attractive. Then we realized, well, we have to come up with very intelligent initial one-lines just to get them to stop. And we all discussed the book distributors amongst ourselves, and we concluded, okay, all we have to do is say something flattering to this man or this woman. That's all. A one line of flattery. Like, are you an actor? Are you a movie star? Why do you look so successful? Wow, you look so spiritual. One line that just appeals to their false ego, and immediately they stop for a second, and that's when you show them the picture in the book. And that was the science of book distribution in the early 70s. One line to flatter them and show them the book picture. It was so simple. And gradually, amongst the book distributors, we used to talk about, well, we're chanting japa for 2 hours. What if we pray for the whole 2 hours? Krishna, please use me to preach. Krishna, please use me to distribute your books. I am nothing. Make me your instrument. The book distributors began to focus on that thought for the entire 2 hours of japa. If their mind went anywhere else, somebody said you have thousands of thoughts, they brought it right back to that one prayer. Please, Lord Krishna, Lord Ram, dear Hare, I want to be Prabhupada's instrument. Please, I beg you, use me to distribute his books because it's so pleasing to him. And in this way, the book distributors entered into, at least for 2 hours, a kind of samadhi. Kind of samadhi of unbroken, uninterrupted thoughts about Krishna. And then when we started going out to airports and concerts and going in front of stores and staying out on Sankirtan for many, 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 many hours. When I described this to Prabhupada in 1973, he wrote back and said, this book distribution that you're all doing, 10 hours a day, well, all you're doing is thinking of saving souls? Your book distribution is real samadhi. I have that in a letter. That's not just to me, that's to the whole movement. And when you are in samadhi, we're reading this whole chapter of Kardama Muni was in samadhi for 10,000 years, and then Krishna came before him. This is how you're going to see Krishna. Find a service that you can pray to do because it pleases spiritual master, pleases Krishna, and think about it for the whole japa, and then all during the day think about it. Even at night, just before you take rest, you're praying, please use me. Please use me. Please, I want to be your instrument, not my senses' instrument. These types of prayers are what pleases our spiritual master the most. And it's how you get the highest realizations and become empowered. Okay, we're going to stop there. I'm sorry I went a little over. Anyone have any questions? We can take just a few. But you have to raise your hand if you have a question. Yes, one question here, and then maybe in the Mataji section.
Thank you for the class, Prabhu. I was wondering how we think about a prayer while also chanting at the same time. Because we only have so much attention. So if it's like all of our attention is focused on the mantra itself, how do we simultaneously focus on the mantra and a prayer?
I don't think that's difficult. My personal experience, every time I chant japa, every single time, I'm speaking to Hare, to Krishna and Ram. I'm not just hearing that they're there like some impersonal way of thinking. I'm accepting what Prabhupada taught. They are personally present. So naturally, I'm going to ask them for this benediction, not for something material. I'm asking each holy name, please make me Prabhupada's instrument. Please use me. I have no problem thinking that constantly for 2 hours. And I've been doing that for 55 years of my japa.
So is it something
That's
like,
what I think of every time I chant japa. I
So-
beg for that.
are you like verbally saying it with words in your mind, or is it more like a feeling?
No, the mantra is, I'm speaking the sound of Krishna and Ram and Hare. They are present. And while they're present right in front of me, I'm begging that they accept me as Prabhupada's instrument. I can't be Krishna's instrument, that's too advanced. But I can become Prabhupada's instrument. That's the external way of being with Krishna. And so I just pray that every time to every holy name, without exception, without interruption. That's what I pray when I chant my rounds. And I have some experience of the results of that. Prabhu, you have a
Thank you.
question?
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you for a wonderful lecture.
Hare Krishna.
When you get older, your body gets weaker. Maybe you are not able to do so much physical service. Then your prayer, Prabhupada, when he came, he said we should chant 64 rounds.
No, he never told us to do that. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta had that established in Gaudiya Math, but Prabhupada established for the Western world and then for the ISKCON world, 16 rounds minimum. He established that as minimum. So for 2 hours, why don't you think of a prayer and recite it for the whole 2 hours, see what happens. Don't worry about 64 rounds. Worry about, can I concentrate on one prayer for 2 solid hours? Try that.
Yeah, then you want to, then you get so enthusiastic that you want to do what you said. But
Well, because I pray for book distribution, even in my old age, whatever money I have, devotees around the world know they can call me up. Could you send us like a whole case of Bhagavatams? And I just pay for it. So although I may not be able to go out myself, I sponsor book distribution. And whenever I'm one-on-one with a non-devotee, I am preaching the message that's in these books and turning them into devotees right in front of my eyes. I see them like the wow moment in their mind from just telling them, you're not this body. You never was there a time when you didn't exist. When they hear that, it's like a big wow moment for them. So for me, book distribution never stopped, despite my infirm or whatever condition this body is in. And some devotees, not all, but most of our devotees, our goal is just finish up everything in this life. Do not go back into a womb and just go right back to this, go back home, back to Godhead. But if you're not ready to, if somehow or other that doesn't happen, my prayer is, in my future births, please let me be a book distributor. Please, I beg you, let me take birth as a book distributor for as long as you want me to. And that's my prayer. Hare Krishna. One last question, Mataji. Sorry, over time a little.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I have a question, like when you're physically suffering, like when you're sick, in a really bad condition, how can you keep the mind focused to think about Krishna or chanting, because you keep getting distracted by the pain that you feel at the moment?
Well, it's challenging if you're feeling bodily pain. Just like in the morning, I always sit by opposite the groups that are chanting in front of Tulsi. I have a chair by a table, and the mosquitoes love to bite me. So in the course of my japa, all of a sudden I'm feeling this different pain from mosquito bites. Can be painful in the beginning. So I don't want that to distract me. How do I avoid being distracted? I think, well, okay, I think of our philosophy that if I was packed in a womb, around the 7th month, according to this Shastra, little worms and insects start biting my very tender embryo body. So that's what I related to, and say, okay, this is like taking another birth. This is what it's going to feel like. And you just keep praying to Krishna. You just pray through it. Don't get too hung up on bodily pain. We all go through bodily pain, but there's a way to push through it. That's the enthusiasm that happens from chanting the holy names. Everlasting enthusiasm. That's what we just read. So keep begging for that enthusiasm so you don't think you're the body. And just even recite a mantra, Aham Brahmasmi Nitai Swarup Krishnas. I am not this body. I don't care what these mosquitoes think. Aham Brahmasmi Nitai Swarup, my true form is Krishna Das. And so you can recite a mantra and just transcend the pain and then go on with your japa. That's what I try to do.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you all, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sankirtan Yagya ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Haribo. Hare Krishna.